भाईजान कुछ ज्यादा नहीं हो गया ये? मतलब कुछ भी।
Who knew that in this world there could be a parallel created between Dabangg and 500 Days of Summer? Anyway, I digress. Here we are after many technical issues, the November Matlab Kuch Bhi episode. If you're new to the channel, the monthly episode focuses on some of the most bizarre movie plot points from Indian cinema that represent decades of regressive and problematic practices, and in some cases, even makes you question the movies you enjoyed in your childhood. This is not to demonize a particular era of Indian cinema, but just to reflect on how many concepts that become tropes in film did not age well at all, and clearly to tell you that in many cases regarding commercial Indian movies, especially the masala pot boilers, nothing really has changed. Getting right into it, here is Trident Refused Productions with 5 embarrassing Indian movie scenes that will leave you speechless. Tehelka. You know, one of the biggest discussions has become about the responsible portrayal of the armed forces in film. When you see the approval of documents that the producers have to guarantee and the several back and forths creators have to do with the concerned authorities to lend authenticity on the big screen, you realize that even fictional stories come with a responsibility. The lack of structure in the 80s and 90s and the absence of regulatory bodies led to many embarrassing portrayals of people in the armed forces that would never fly today. I remember talking about the 1992 film Tehelka once upon a time on this channel for its over-the-top dictator villain General Dong played by Amrish Puri and the bizarre plot that it focused on, but its depiction of the 3 leads, who are Indian Army officers by the way, will make you cringe to the core. Their introduction scene is of them scaling a wall. Just guess for what? इतनी excitement क्यों है भाई?
इससे पहले कि मेजर कृष्ण राव का बुलावा आ जाए, गंगा स्नान कर ही लिया जाए।
अरे गंगा क्या, मैं तो जमुना में भी स्नान करने को तैयार हूँ।
But just gawking isn't really enough for these 3 characters. They have to make the most of their creepy antics. So what do? They cross-dress as women, put on some swimsuits, and jump in the pool with them. Do you know, of course, Copperfield, and say the creepiest lines possible. The concept of consent in a movie like Tehelka is just a glimmer of an ongoing problem regarding Hindi films and the portrayal of relationships. Look at this sequence of Javed Jafri getting into a scuffle with a female intelligence agent from another country.
You Indian bastard! Leave me alone!
अबे ओ अंग्रेजी मुर्गी, अब जब तूने हिंदुस्तानियों को हरामी कह ही दिया है तो कसम उड़ान छल्ले की, अब तू हमारा हरामीपन देख ही ले।
मतलब अपने क्रीपी एंटिक्स जस्टिफाई करने के लिए पूरी कंट्री को हरामी लेबल कर दिया, मतलब कुछ भी। आर राजकुमार. You know, whenever you're a fan of some actor, your opinion always gets clouded regarding his choice of films and maybe even the socially problematic messaging. While I'm responsible enough to point out the jarringly obvious, irresponsible messaging in Shahid Kapoor's film like Kabir Singh or even the underwhelming quality of a film like Batti Gul Meter Chalu, I've always been criticized for not being harsh, which I should have been. Somehow I've always rooted for this guy. Maybe it's because I saw his films in my formative years, maybe because I connect to him as a dancer especially. That being said, it becomes my prerogative to call out something if it's horrible. And my god, R. Rajkumar is horrible. I rewatched this film just to understand how bad it truly is. And other than its music, which I will always stand by, I have to say it made me uncomfortable and cringe through most parts. Romeo constantly stalks Chanda. Annoyed with his persistence, she slaps him, only for Romeo to give a peck on her hand. She mocks him for his height, he berates her for her weight, he creepily sneaks into her house at night as she is changing, and all this leads to the girl falling in love for him. Even the heroine has creepy dialogues guaranteeing that she will willingly open her sari for Sonu Sood if he beats Shahid Kapoor. Sonu Sood says dialogues like "Tum hamare bagiche ki sabse sundar phool ho." Even if you're a fan, you can't like this film. It tests all your loyalties to your favorite stars and still doesn't stand out. Sari ke falsa tak hi theek tha. Himmat aur mehnat. One of the most problematic sequences that I have seen from an old Bollywood movie is from the 1987 film titled Himmat aur Mehnat, starring Jitendra and Sridevi. The film focuses on a wealthy individual played by Shami Kapoor who is convinced by nurse Jyoti played by Sridevi to run his household. When the brat from America, Vijay, played by Jitendra, lands up after 4 years, his privilege and pompousness reeks everywhere. So one fine night, when he is drunk out of his mind, he creepily sits in Jyoti's room, waiting for her, only to pounce on her and rape her.
मैं आखिरी बार कह देती हूँ, आप यहाँ से चले जाइए वरना मैं चली जाऊंगी। दरवाजा क्यों बंद कर रहे हो? विजय बाबू?
The immediate action that Jyoti takes is to run to the nearest cliff to commit suicide, only for her to be stopped by Vijay and say these dialogues to him.
तुमने अपनी जिद पूरी करने के लिए एक गरीब की इज्जत का दामन नोच डाला। मुझे इस दुनिया में जीने का कोई हक नहीं है।
You would wonder, right? How does this man even have the right to give a lecture to a girl who he has sexually assaulted? He consoles her and takes her away. And you want to know the most bizarre aspect of the movie though? Guess what is the very next scene?
डैडी, हम अभी आर्य समाज मंदिर में शादी करके आ रहे हैं।
I give up. Honestly. Matlab, I can't even say kuch bhi. This is so disturbing. The same preposterous thought of marrying your abuser. Wah. Rascals. You know, you would wonder that as the years go by, the directors who were especially popular in the 90s would evolve with the current times and mold their storytelling and characters with respect to the social climate of today. One director, despite the evergreen nature of his 90s comedies that refuses to budge from the archaic and regressive stereotypes, is David Dhawan. The biggest case study regarding this statement is the 2011 film Rascals, starring Sanjay Dutt, Ajay Devgan and Kangana Ranaut. A film about two men trying to manipulate an affluent girl in order to get access to her wealth is a tone-deaf and horrible comedy where the two actors constantly grope, harass, undress, molest and even corner Kangana Ranaut's character. You almost start feeling bad for Kangana in this film to be subjected to such disturbing buffoonery. But I guess she assumed at least a David Dhawan comedy will be funny. It isn't. The film mocks starving children of Africa and even the visually impaired. Ajay Devgan pretends to be blind only to grope Kangana whenever he possibly can. He picks her up and throws her down under the guise of teaching her self-defense, threatens to kill himself if she doesn't love him, makes sure he gawks at her as she undresses, and in one sickening moment tells her to take her top off because the yellow shirt she is wearing is hurting his eye, only to again be a perv and stare at her as she stands in her bikini top. This one will test your patience, intelligence as well as mental health and is all kinds of wrong. Tejaswini. Tejaswini is a film where a man brutally rapes a woman as his friend group cheers on. Yes, you heard that right. This is a film I spoke about for its portrayal of violence against women to titillate the audience rather than contribute artistically. When I explored this movie further, I was blown away by what is the pragmatic course of action of the protagonist, a noble police officer played by Vijay Shanti. When the case against the politician's son falls flat, the course of action the police officer thinks fit is to make sure the victim gets married to the abuser. This is the reaction of her parents when, in order to pacify the girl's family, the abusers accept the proposal.
बेटी अपनी इज्जत गंवाकर बाप के ही घर पर रहे, इससे अच्छा है कि वो ससुराल चली जाए। फिर ससुराल में उसके साथ क्या होता है उससे मुझे कोई सरोकार नहीं है।
But of course, the abusers don't want to associate with the girl. This is the statement of the son who is being forced into this union. Just remember, he is the abuser.
आप एक ऐसी लड़की को बहू बनाना चाहते हैं जिसकी इज्जत ही नहीं रही।
So what do? They make sure as the victim is arriving for her wedding that she goes up in flames and dies. Surprisingly, the girl perseveres from all injuries and the police officer still wants this union to happen.
आपकी होने वाली बहू अग्नि परीक्षा से पवित्र होकर सही सलामत निकल आई है। आप फेरों की तैयारी कीजिए।
There is only one scene in this film that will win your heart, and it's the common man and his rant about the oblivious Indian public, which by the way is still true today.
सारा देश नर की खाई में झोंका जा रहा है और ये साला पूछता है क्रिकेट का स्कोर क्या है?
And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below whether you have some video ideas for our channel. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.